Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Steele for the Hot Pole Studios, and today we're going to be looking at, for the first time, demoing and talking about the bootcamp pickups from Bare Knuckle Pickups. Specifically today we're going to be looking at the Telecaster set, and we're going to be looking at the True Grit version of these pickups. Now, it's important to talk about pickup upgrades, I think, because cheap pickups can really be a weak link in a lower-priced guitar, in my opinion. And you get some fairly serviceable, made in China, made in Indonesia, made in, Eastern countries guitars. And one of the ways they keep the price down is they kind of throw the electronics together, throw the pickups in, and just ship them out. And it works, and for a lot of people, that's fine. I mean, it's inexpensive, so to a large part, hey, what's the problem? And the issues for me come when you start to realise that your heroes that you look up to have a certain sound to the guitars that they play, and you're finding it difficult to get that same sound. You might have got yourself a new amp, and you're not quite getting there. You might have got yourself some sort of virtual amp and you're still finding that it's not quite right. And to me, the pickups are one of the biggest parts of the way that a guitar sounds. I mean, of course, there's the wood and the scale length and all that kind of stuff. But those are things that once you have a guitar, you can't really change. Maybe you could change the bridge and the nut and the tuners, but most of that comes down to stability. With the pickups, however, a serious upgrade in pickups, where you change from something that was kind of quickly spun out of a factory and may or may not be as close to a design sheet as they could get it, going to something that's hand-wound in a traditional style by people who know what they're doing and know the reasons behind every little thing, take the care to do everything just right. That difference can be huge. And not to mention that going from kind of a traditional kind of vintage style pickup to something that's made to be a little more, aggressive or not, as the case may be, can change the tone of a guitar drastically without changing the feel of that guitar. So let's say you've got a guitar where you are so used to the feel of it, the way it plays and the way the body resonates, that you don't want to change and you don't want to spend thousands on some made in America guitar. Or maybe you do, and maybe you're upgrading an American guitar, but what I want to talk about today specifically is these bootcamp pickups. Now, Bare Knuckle Pickups have got themselves a reputation for making some of the best handmade aftermarket pickups, arguably in the world. Some of the most well-known bands out there use them, as far as I'm aware. Aerosmith, Periphery, if you're into that kind of heavy metal, they absolutely swear by them. There are a lot of bands now where not only metal, but kind of blues, country, those guys all, if they want a specific type of pickup making, they call Bare Knuckle. And the pickups are not cheap. The reason being, every set that Bare Knuckle make, they can only really make them once you've put in the call and talked to them and talked with them about what do you need, what kind of music is it for. They'll quite often make a recommendation for you if you're not entirely sure what model of pickup you need. I mean, obviously, you know what your guitar is, but if I was to phone up Bare Knuckle and say, I play a Telecaster, but I want to do really heavy metal, they would then probably specify some kind of ceramic pickup, maybe a humbucker that fits in here, I don't know. Or if I said I wanted to play country, they might suggest something different. They do pickups with different colours, different finishes, all sorts. It's completely custom, but that means that a pair of pickups can run you up to £230, £250. My Les Paul that you see in quite a lot of the videos that I did play in, the green one, that has Bare Knuckle Juggernaut pickups in it, which are the original kind of Periphery signature. I didn't get them because I like Periphery. I got them because they sounded the best for what I wanted out of that guitar. And compared to the stock pickups, I found it's absolutely night and day, and they really make for a great sound. However, they weren't cheap. Now, the boot camp pickups come in. What Bare Knuckle have done is they've worked out a way to make sets of pickups that are far less expensive. They're still not cheap. I mean, hey, these guys are still hand making these, but it's much more reasonable to me. I think these are something like £130, £150 a set rather than 200 and something, so it's almost half the price. And I asked the owner of Bare Knuckle Pickups, Tim, in person. I asked him, does this mean they're kind of made elsewhere? Are they made in another country? Are they made in China or something? And he quite clearly said to me, no, they're not. These are still handmade in the UK. They're just made in the downtime in between waiting to take people's calls for those customs. So what they do is, if I look on the back of the box here, there are 12 possible configurations of the boot camp pickups, and that's it. Now, 12 sounds like a lot, but let's break that down. So there's humbuckers, Stratocaster coils, Telecaster single coils, and P90s. So that's 4 different types already, and your guitar is only going to fit one of those, let's be honest. And from there, they've made 3 variations. The old guard, which is kind of the vintage style, not very high output pickups that usually give kind of sparklingy cleans. Then there's the True Grit, which is Alnico 5 magnets, which is more aggressive. Then there's the Brute Force, which is the really aggressive stuff. And so you just look at this little grid, you go, for me, I have Telecaster. I need something a bit more aggressive than vintage, but I don't want to go on full-on metal because I want the cleans still to be quite clean. So I decided for the True Grit pickups, and that's what's in this box. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a quick demo of this guitar with its stock Squier Affinity pickups, because this is a Squier Affinity Telecaster crafted in China. But it's quite a nice guitar. We've got this for the studio because a lot of people want to get their grubby hands on a Telecaster in the middle of a session. Let's say they're usually a Les Paul player and they just need a very nice clean guitar for a clean section. They've usually not brought a Telecaster, so I just make sure it's in tune with fresh strings and go, play this. So let's have a listen to how this sounds and then see where we go from there. So first we're going to use a Fender Blues Deluxe on a very clean setting. Then we're going to use a Marshall TSL 100 on the crunch channel through the 4x12 from Zilla there. And we're going to hit that with all the EQ on noon, and we're going to get a nice crunchy tone out of it. And then we're going to completely change the electronics as well, because Bare Knuckle make their own capacitors, and so they can source things for the rest of the wiring. So I'm going to change the whole lot all at once. So let's have a listen first. That's enough talking. Sorry, I've been rambling on a little. Here we go. Clean first. Okay, so with those demos done, now we're going to cut the camera. We're going to try and find some kind of table to work on, get the extractor fans running, get the soldering iron and a screwdriver, and get to work. We are back after what someone from the north of England would refer to as a rate faff, which roughly translated means a lot of messing around. So the pickups are changed, the electronics are changed, the jack is changed. I plugged it in after wiring it all, and there was a horrible buzzing noise, and it turns out that, like the complete idiot that I am, I had wired the ground and the hot signal for the jack backwards, which doesn't just mean it's out of polarity, it means that everything is not properly grounded. So I switched those back round, and now we get this. Got some serious output on these, and these are not necessarily what you call high output pickups, but the funny thing is, to me, this sounds a lot more like a classic Telecaster. I mean, this, if I go back to the neck pickup while we're still on the Fender amp on the clean channel, this is what kind of a semi-jazzy kind of solo sounds like that. And if I roll off the tone just a little, it doesn't turn to mud, but it does something. That's with the tone almost all the way off, and we've still got quite a lot of detail in there rather than it just being full mush, which means that Bare Knuckle's own capacitor is doing its job properly. There are no knobs and top hat at the moment on the electronics because it turns out the ones I had on the old electronics don't fit. So I'm going to get some ordered to make it look aesthetically the same, but that's an entirely aesthetic thing that is kind of my fault and has nothing to do with the pickups. So, without further ado, let's move to the Marshall. I am finding this very easy to play with this sound now. It's kind of that, you know when you get inspired as a guitarist and you get that kind of, you want to just keep playing? After I'd wired it together and was checking it before I began filming again, I looked at the clock and 25 minutes had gone where I'd just been playing, just noodling. And what more can I say about it than that? I made sure the pickup heights are right. I made sure that everything's exactly as it was before. So the only tonal difference is the subtle stuff that feeds back and makes me, at least, want to play more, because it sounds to my ears like I would want a Telecaster to sound. And this, for me, has elevated this guitar from kind of bedroom player, it'll do, to I could take this out on stage now and be quite happy playing it. I mean, the downside to something like a Squier Affinity series, it's generally the hardware's cheap. So if we replace all the hardware, then, I mean, this set of hardware probably cost as much, the electronics and the everything, probably cost about as much as the guitar itself did. But that's still a good several £100 less than getting something like a USA stock Telecaster. So I've now got completely hand-wound pickups and arguably some of the best electronics in the world without even being completely custom, or having a custom price tag. Now, for me, I mean, I'm not being paid by Bare Knuckle to do this video. I had to go out of my way to ask Bare Knuckle to get these. I met Tim from Bare Knuckle at the Birmingham Guitar Show a few months ago, and they didn't even have any of the Telecaster pickups left. I had to order them specifically, and I'm glad I did now. This is going to become one of the go-to guitars in the studio for tones. We've got my Les Paul, which has bare knuckles, and the Telecaster, which has bare knuckles. My Strat has the kind of custom wiring setup, and I might well see if I can get some sort of bare knuckle solution to go in that as well, because at this rate, well, it's really audibly improving my guitar tones, and to me it's improving the mixes. So one last thing we're going to do now is I'm going to play the tones back to back. So Fender stock, Fender bare knuckle, then Marshall stock, Marshall bare knuckle. So I'm going to do them one by one, AA, BB, that kind of thing, so that you can put them up against each other. Because I know that if I don't, someone will say, oh, well, you can't hear the difference. So this is for you guys. So after that, I will simply say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. There's a lot coming. There's a demo on the Aston Starlight microphones, which I'm using right now as room microphones. There's one on the Aston Origin, the orange 4-stroke bass amp. I have a new Slingerland Radio King snare, which I'm going to be talking about. There's so much good stuff to look forward to, so I hope to see you all on the channel very soon. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, that's really appreciated. It helps to grow the channel. At the time of filming, we're so close to 10,000 subscribers, I can taste it. And every one of you guys that hits that subscribe button really helps us. So thanks again. Sorry for all the waffling, and hope to see you soon. Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out our other videos, as you can find here, or check out our Facebook and Twitter, or our Patreon page, which helps us to make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.